Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Second Earth Alternative. This is your host, Felipe Osorio. Very excited to be back with you. I know it's been a while, but let me tell you, there have been a ton of developments. I don't know if you can hear, but we do have a new microphone. I'm choosing not to show my face today. It's a slightly different style, mostly because my studio office has turned into kind of a mini film studio. I've been working with a Brazilian producer who was staying over, Diego Jordão. He is the main actor of Soroche, independent Brazilian film that is being distributed by O2 Films, which is the same production company that released the Brazilian hit film City of God.
Sou eu! Dorme, fala daqui, vai! Tia mais famosa da cidade agora precisa pagar, né?
Now, Diogo, my wife, who is the talented Romika Annabelle, as well as choral-style DJ Sadir, we are in the midst of completing a very cool short film that I'm directing called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. So please stay tuned because we will be premiering the project on this site in the near future. So if you want to know more about these amazing actors, producers, check out the description below. Share this to anyone that you think would enjoy this content because we will be releasing much more on this channel than just the Second Earth Alt itself. Not to mention that I dropped a ton of conspiracy hints that is surely to get the powers to be not very happy about this coming project. So for the viewers who didn't get a chance to see the previous episode, we called out this HBO show, Vice News, for not being so investigative news-like in their Are We Alone episode. Now, if you watched the episode, you may have remembered a pastor we mentioned by the name of Reverend John Fluth. We actually even made a joke about him with this contact poster. Now, this pastor was highlighted in the HBO Vice episode as he was not just working as a pastor, but was also working at the Arecibo telescope. And sure enough, it appears that the Reverend himself has personally requested for that image. He ended up emailing me about a week after the episode was published and asked me if I would be gracious enough to send him the image to hang for his personal office. Now, I thought that was really cool because not that he just watched our episode, but on the email, he also mentioned that he really enjoyed it and indicated that we asked very good questions in the episode. So just wanted to publicly say thank you, Reverend, for the kind words and for your vote of confidence. Also, we got this message recently that I thought was noteworthy to share to the public. James says, I worked for Vice for the first 2 years when it was amazing. It was a journalist's dream. And then all of a sudden, our boss moved to the States and our new boss is a feminist. So all she hires is social justice warriors. Almost instantly, stories were changed and manipulated for their own ways. It's a huge mess. And not only that, but they were promoting videos that had nothing to do with real issues, but social justice. Hence why I got out. Never trust Vice, laughing out loud. Plus, Viceland is closing down. I wonder why. So as you can see, just because Vice claims the moral high ground in their fight for social good, doesn't mean that the stories can't be manipulated to serve a specific agenda. I mean, to be honest, I actually really like most of the episodes that I've seen from Vice. I always thought that they were really great at bringing up issues that are often being ignored. But I'm sorry, this Are We Alone episode actually pretending to ask the real questions that has plagued the entire field of science and philosophy since Aristotle, and not once questioning the counter prospect of other species coming to Earth is just bollocks. It's shit. Plain and simple. It's crap. It's dirty. It smells bad, and there's absolutely no use for it other than waste. So if Vice wants to think of themselves as social justice warriors, we will think of ourselves as the truth seekers. Because lies, just like love, has no bias to colors. And I'm also talking about the colors of red versus blue. So moving on to the topic of UFOs, I want to share a picture I received from one of my viewers who I've been in correspondence with for a while now. This UFO image was taken in Denmark, and I just wanted to get your guys' initial impressions on it. He writes, so around a month ago, my girlfriend was on the way home, sitting in the back of her parents' car. They all looked out of the window at this big bright light that was hovering still. Now my girlfriend didn't know how far away it was, but she could tell that it was pretty far away. She sent a picture on a messenger and asked me what this was. When she looked back at the night sky, the big light had moved and had become much smaller. Now, she and her parents have never seen something like that before, and they were sure that it wasn't a plane or a star. This happened near Kolding in Denmark on the 21st of April at around 9:18 p.m. Danish time. Now, what I can say about this image is that the moment I took a look at it and I saw this kind of like donut shaped, and here, let me just show you some images that he actually provided us. He gave us also a comparison of this object to the moon, just to kind of get a sense of how big this object could possibly be. And yeah, so, I mean, when I looked at this object, I was kind of stunned because I instantly remembered these NASA images. Now, these images I'm about to show you are coming from the Apollo archive. They are basically from the Apollo 11 mission. And so let's take a look at what we got here. So the first image is this one right over here. And if you take a look at the image, you can see right away that there's some strange anomalous object on top. So our Danish friend was asking us, has anybody seen a UFO like this before? And I have to be honest with you, the moment that I saw his images, these light bulbs instantly went in my head, because yes, I have seen UFOs before that look like this, that has this very donut-like shape. Not just that, but these images are coming from the Apollo 11 archive, which means that these are legitimate images straight off the government, basically difficult to be fuddled with unless it was the government themselves. But why don't we take a look at what we got from the Apollo 11 mission real quick. So here is the first image. As you can see, this is kind of like an enhanced image. If we go back, and you can see how it looked like originally. And yeah, it's basically just an image of the moon. And then up here, you can see that there's a very peculiar UFO. And when you increase the levels, you see that there's a lot more brightness underneath it, which would make sense if there's light that's bouncing off the moon. And then once we crop it, we can actually see the object. And it's really interesting because you can kind of almost see like a wheel with almost like spokes, and you can see the center. And what I thought was so interesting about this UFO is that whether this is a UFO or an artifact, and I'm actually leaning towards a UFO, that this appeared in several images. So let's take a look at another image. Here we go. Here's another one right over here. This image is a little bit darker, but once again, the object is still there in a slightly different location. And once we zoom in, once again, we got the same thing, kind of like a wheel-like object in the middle. Almost looks like there's spokes coming out on the side, and there's kind of like an outer ring to it. And, the Danish person described it as something with spokes, or not spokes, but like donut shape. And, the way that I'm thinking this is, it's looking like a bicycle wheel, kind of. Here is another variation of it. Just a little bit more contrasty. So let's take a look over here. All right, and then let's take a look. And here's another version of the same artifact or UFO, but this one very, very close to the surface of the moon itself. And let's take a look at one last one. Here it is again. As you can see, it just lifted off the moon just a bit more. So that's it. I mean, that's pretty interesting, right? I mean, I think that when you have some kind of like artifact, every time I see these like little glitches, or they talk about ice crystals, or possibly like things that are reflections on the windows, or those things usually only occur for like one image. And what's so interesting about this particular anomalous object is that we're seeing this in at least 5, 6, here's another variation of it, 5, 6, 7 different images. So I mean, that's kind of strange, right? I mean, how's that possible? Let's put some contrast, see how if we can get these spokes to kind of pop out. Look how geometrical that starts looking, right? So, let's just increase the size of this. What's so awesome is Photoshop has this brand new feature, and let me show you real quick. It's called Preserve Detail 2.0 for those who have not checked it out. It's basically like a very well constructed, like intelligent art algorithm that is able to kind of make predictive pixels and really give a good approximation when you enlarge it. So You know, they used to say you can't really create new pixels, but it seems with these new filters you kind of can. But let's increase this. So we got 4000 by 4000, resolution is 300. Let's just make it 8000, see what we get here. All right. So we're gonna get a really large image now. This might take a second. Okay, and here we go. Let's see how much we can zoom in now. All right, and there is the object. That is the object with the Photoshop enhancements. Shit, I think that looks pretty interesting. I can't tell what this is, but it definitely has a very geometric shape. And once again, it's just trying to show you that there are things that are similar to what the person was describing in his email. And this is coming straight off NASA. So yeah, pretty cool, I would say. Now, for those who think that this might just be a random artifact, let me actually show you some other images that I inadvertently found from the moon. And let's see what you guys think about this. These images, I actually ended up finding them inadvertently as I was searching for these images that I'm closing down here. Okay, so let's take a look at these other images. So this one, you know, when you first look at it, it just looks like a little black dot. It could be a glitch. It could be some kind of speck on the lens. But what interested me, right, is when I started using some of these filters, specifically this new image size filter. Because check this out. So I'm putting a little contrast here. I'm going to crop the image to get a little bit closer. And then look what happens when I put the image size. Zoom out here for a second. Look at this thing. And I've been using this image size filter, and let me tell you, it's very, very accurate. So what I'm seeing here is something that looks like, well, if it's a dust speck, it's very, very interesting shaped dust speck. So I'll just leave it at that. Just wanted to kind of show you guys that when you do zoom into this dust specks, it's not always what we think it is. It's not always a random artifact. Actually, sometimes it creates a very interesting three-dimensional shapes that seems to be indicative of what we already experience with this UFO phenomenon and things that we've already described. So this image is just one of those false color images of the moon, and if you look at the right corner over here, you kind of see a little black speck, you know, and you can think it may be nothing, right? But as you zoom in, right, and here's the thing that I found so interesting is that when you start analyzing some of these UFOs, you notice that they're actually taking certain shapes, almost like they're certain crafts. There is like this sphere type UFOs that you see sometimes. You get the traditional saucer shaped UFOs. You get the cigar shaped UFOs. But something else that I've been seeing very often is the black knight shaped UFOs. And this is a classic example of one of those. So let me just kind of crop this. We'll resize the image to give you guys a better perspective of how this could look like. So let's get to the image size. Let's add a little levels and let's take a look at this thing. So look at that. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe it's just a random dust speck that just looks like this. But let me tell you something. This is not the first time I've seen this. Okay, and look. Do you see the resemblance? It's as if it's like a type of vehicle. You know, people think that the Black Knight is just a single satellite, and I understand that people have been like trying to track it, and you know, given that it seems to constantly switch its orbit and constantly switch its location, I'm inclined to think that the Black Knight satellite is not just one object. Perhaps it's a classification of a specific type of vehicle, of a specific type of object, just like the flying saucer, just like the cigar shaped and the spheroids, you know. So maybe it's a dust speck. You know, that's possible too. But I'm just kind of saying that this interesting little shape that we got here, that seems to match the Black Knight satellite shape. I've been seeing that very often with a lot of these Apollo images. So moving on from UFOs, I wanted to quickly talk about remote viewing, guys. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but we did start a remote viewing section in our episode about probably, I don't know, a few months ago. And essentially, I was watching Coast to Coast and never seen Coast to Coast do this before. But it appears that now, after we started our remote viewing section, Coast to Coast looks like they're doing their own remote viewing section. So check this out. During Saturday's program, Douglas James Cottrell presented a live on-air remote viewing experiment. So look at that. Apparently we're not the only ones trying remote viewing. So now here's the thing about the remote viewing section. Because my episodes are so long, because we talk about so many different things, and because I tend to sneak the remote viewing section in the very end, I'm getting very few guesses. Like very few people are actually giving me guesses. And so this is kind of making me rethink the whole remote viewing process. So what I wanted to do is I just wanted to ask the general audience your thoughts, your opinions, how to improve this remote viewing section. And one idea that I thought might work, or maybe it might be more efficient and might be a way to put out more episodes, is just to have a very small, very short episode dedicated only to remote viewing. So the whole episode is just us doing remote viewing experiments. Maybe we can talk about like some kind of remote viewing or, you know, psychic phenomenon type news story or some kind of topic, but just have an episode that's dedicated only to that. And then, and essentially, yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you ladies and guys think that this is a good idea, or should we keep the remote viewing as it was before? So unfortunately, nobody got the last one correct, at least not that I saw, but I will be showing the remote viewing card right now. The video should be coming up right now for you guys to see what the object was. And yes, I'm not going to present a remote viewing card this time. I'm just going to see what you guys think. I want your guys' comments on this. And then, you know, well, I guess we can proceed from that. You know, maybe we can, like I said, just create a brand new episode just on remote viewing itself. All right, so for the next episode, you know, this is not a topic that I usually cover because it's kind of a little bit on the sketchy end of credibility.
You saw someone shapeshift?
Oh, God. No, it's true. I would tell you off grid, but I won't say it publicly.
All right, and on the next episode, we're going to be going over a John Oliver video where a vicious woman talking about pyramid scheme seemingly turned into a reptile. Now, I'm not really the first one to put out these reptilian ship-shifting videos. I think they're very scant in credibility at best. What I can say is that the video is weird. So I'm going to reserve my opinion on what actually happened until the episode itself. So please stay tuned. Now, if you guys did not check out, we did start a brand new Patreon account. It's just patreon.com/Second Earth. So if you guys do want to contribute and help this channel continue to grow, because it doesn't seem like YouTube is anywhere close to helping us with any financial help, with anything, nothing. YouTube is like, see you later. So really up to this point, it's just been me doing this for free. So if you guys do want to help out, if you guys do want to keep this channel going, please help out at www.patreon.com/Second Earth. So once again, thank you for sticking around, and I hope you guys join us for our next reptilian ship shifting episode. Thanks for joining me. This is Felipe Osorio, signing out.